Welcome to this morning, this day, this opportunity to be together in community, which is a time of joy, comfort, and sometimes challenges. This congregation, the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of the Rappahannock, is a place where we come to learn more about being human. We're not here because we figured out life's questions or because we think we've got it right. We come here to learn more about being in relationship together, how to listen, how to forgive, how to be vulnerable, and how to create trust and compassion in one another. My name is Diana Jameson, and I'm honored to be your service leader today. Let us together move into worship, willing to be authentic with each other, honest within ourselves, and opening to connections in all forms. We welcome you. Today, a member of our community, Charlene Talcott, will be sharing a perspective that I suspect reflects her life's work. The name of her talk is Lessons Learned from the Natural World. I invite you to become fully present and curious about the message she is soon to deliver. I also invite you to be fully present by silencing the chatter in your mind and perhaps the unexpected chatter of your cell phone. Also, if you are a first-time visitor, I invite you to follow our order of service, to sing as you may, and to take home the bulletin cover as an introduction of our beliefs and values, and to most certainly join us in conversation after our service. We light this chalice for the earth, the natural world, of which we are all part. We pledge to care for what it needs and hold it in our heart. As your service leader, I hope these words support Charlene's talk today. We, UUs, have a deep, enduring connection with nature. From our beginnings, we've looked to the natural world as a source of spiritual meaning, wonder, and ethical guidance. Rooted in our sixth source, the spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions, we honor the sacred circle of life and the interdependent web of all existence. Many among us advocate for climate justice, support sustainable living, and seek harmony with the earth through action, reverence, and community. Whether through green sanctuary efforts, mindful food choices, or honoring indigenous and pagan traditions, we walk a path aligned with today's message. We walk in step with Charlene. Long nature lover. She worked in environmental education and currently works as a nonprofit project manager. She is the founding member of the Virginia Master Naturalist Program and a member of the Northern Neck chapter. She is also a board member of the Virginia Association for Environmental Education. In her spare time, Charlene enjoys listening to and playing music, learning languages, and snuggling with her two big boy retrievers. Charlene, please come to the podium and share what nature teaches us about cooperation, kindness, peace, and even our health.
So good morning. I'm glad to see so many people here.
Good morning.
It's always a little nervous to talk in front of a group, but I'm among friends. Carl Sagan said we are all made of star stuff. Planets are formed by material from exploding stars, and more material is deposited by meteors and newer exploding stars. Life that forms on these planets absorbs the minerals and energy from these exploding stars. On our own humble planet, life absorbs this energy from our star, the sun. A tree absorbs sun energy into its leaves, creating nutrients through photosynthesis. At some point, that tree dies, releasing decades of nutrients into the soil, into the air. Gases are released, and some of these molecules become part of the rivers and lakes. New plants grow from these nutrients. The plants are eaten by insects, animals, fungi, and bacteria. And when these die, the nutrients go back into the earth and help nourish new trees. That is a simple explanation of the circle of life, but our connectedness goes much deeper than that. Nature is aching to teach us lessons that we are willing to learn. Altruism is not just a human trait. In his book, The Hidden Life of Trees, Peter Woolham, who was a forester, delved into the science of the trees around him. Trees communicate with each other through their roots. If a tree has the beginning of an insect infestation, it will send out signals to the others. The other trees, though unaffected by this insect, will create chemicals to repel or kill the insects. And in some species of trees, if a tree is diseased or injured, other trees can send nutrients through their roots to adjoining trees to nourish them. That's especially true in parent trees and offspring. So we can learn to help others around us. Nature teaches us that we can help others in ways that we do not even know. Take grizzly bears during the salmon run, for example. Grizzly bears eat the heads and skin of salmon, leaving the rest behind as they go and catch even more salmon. First glance, this seems like wastefulness. We humans are taught to finish our meals before going back for seconds. But wait till you hear what happens next. Animals like foxes and wolves that can't catch the fish are happy to eat the scraps. Birds will eat what mammals leave behind. Insects and bacteria feed on the fish as they decompose, and even the bones are returned to the soil to nourish it. There is no waste. So we can learn not to anthropomorphize our ways onto animals. So we think they're wasteful as actually creating a beautiful community. In What the Robin Knows by John Young, he tells a wonderful story of interspecies cooperation. The crows really like eating elk carrion, but they have no way of bringing elk down. Wolves can do that, but the elk may be several miles away and it could take days of searching. The crows will actually scout the elk. I think this is in Yellowstone. The crows will scout the elk, and a few crows will fly back to the wolf pack and lead them to the elk. So this is interspecies cooperation. And we think about here at UU, we all basically think alike. We seem to be level left-leaning and open to others. But how far does that go? Do we go out to people that are completely different than us to cooperate? Think of a bird and a wolf. Couldn't be more different, but together they help each other. Nature teaches us to live with the seasons. Animals have their young in the spring, giving them time to strengthen and grow before winter. Trees shed their leaves in the autumn and send their sap to the roots. Many animals hibernate to contend with the winter cold. Birds that migrate do so to escape the cold too, but why not just stay in their winter habitats? Migrating birds follow their instincts to more open breeding grounds. It takes a lot of territory to feed growing broods, so they go back to the food-rich areas where they can spread out. We should follow their example and adapt to the needs of the moment. People used to adapt to the seasons. Our ancestors' ways of life are similar to the Amish and Mennonite communities in Richmond County. Food is canned and preserved for winter, but our ancestors thought that nature provided the right food in the right season. Spring is for eating shoots, usually wild foraged. They're full of minerals that our bodies need after a lean winter. Summer is full of watermelon and tomatoes and squash and other liquid and electrolyte-filled foods and vegetables that help our bodies deal with the heat. Autumn brings us fat-rich nuts and heavier foods like winter squash and cabbage that prepare our bodies for colder weather. And winter was for root vegetables like carrots and beets and onions. Their diets were a mixture of different foods, but looking at colonial diaries, seasonal foods predominated for these reasons. I had a friend that planned her working life this way. Spring and summer were for growing prize-winning dahlias that she sold. Fall was for filling the freezer and pantry. And winter was for pottery and painting. In between, she played music in a successful Williamsburg band. She said she never felt burned out because she looked forward to the next projects and knew at their end that they would be waiting when the next season came. Excuse me. And being outdoors is healing because we're more in contact with nature. I love that we walk through a path here. You go to other churches and there's a parking lot, but we walk through a path to come in here. And to me, that's centering, and it prepares me for what's waiting inside this building. It's like a transition. I hope you all feel that too. So, the Amish and Mennonite people like to be barefoot whenever possible. I thought it was a way of saving money. We always heard that the kids were barefoot in summer, but even the adults were barefoot. And talking to them, excuse me, is because they believe you should be connected to the earth whenever possible. So you'll see, even in spring kind of coolish weather, you'll usually see people barefoot in these communities. They also believe spending as much time outdoors as they can. If inside and the weather allows it, they open windows and have buildings with open areas that are closed with panels in colder weather. Until the early 20th century, people with tuberculosis convalesced outside as part of their treatment. They thought the fresh air would help them. Photographs of Civil War hospitals show wounded soldiers convalescing underneath the shade of the trees. They found that with abattoirs where people kill animals, they butcher the animals, that if they're outdoors, there's a lot less bacteria on the surfaces than when they're completely enclosed. So people back then knew that that was a healthier way to be outside and away from all the contaminants that get caught in the corners inside. Excuse me. But even today in Scandinavian countries, it's believed to be healthy for babies to be outside in all kinds of weather. I'm sure you've seen the pictures. This continues through their childhood as recess is every day, even in snow and rain. And there's a Scandinavian saying that there's no bad weather, just bad clothing. Sometimes we need to adapt to nature's forces. We use the phrase, weathering the storm. Life throws us literal and figurative storms. They seem terrible at the moment, but can lead to better outcomes. Fires and hurricanes destroy woods and meadows, but new life can grow in the cleared land. The term windfall comes from storms. If the wind blows strongly, fruit falls from the trees and branches fall, providing firewood. So sometimes we need a shake-up to reap new benefits. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. And differences can lead to survival. Fish sensing sound through their skin instead of through hearing. You know, sound is not going to travel very far in the water, but fish and even aquatic mammals can sense through their skin and through special receptacles in their head. Think of the myriad adaptations of birds and insects and all animals that are all different, that are specific to where they are. Ferns were the earliest plant life, but as insects emerged, bright flowers with ultraviolet that we can't see started to emerge with them. So differences are good. Perhaps neurodivergence helped some of our ancestors. The person that was obsessive compulsive made sure the rituals were performed just right to appease the gods. Night owls could protect us through the darkest hours. Some forms of autism lead to detailed record keeping, important at pre-literate times. People with hyperactivity or manic episodes often became inventors and artisans. So our strength is in our diversity. So back to the beginning. The same molecules, the same nutrients, the same energy is recycled over and over. When I taught kids the water cycle, they were told that there's no more water being made. We drink the same water that the dinosaurs drink. Always, one child would line up and realizing that yes, we are drinking dinosaur pee. The materials that were around millions of years ago still flow through our bodies and the countless other bodies around us. We share molecules not just with other Earth life, but the universe. You can connect into the shared energy. Sit outside with your eyes closed. Listen and feel. With every minute, you will hear more sounds and feel more around you. Each time you feel and hear more. I witnessed one woman who could feel butterfly wings beating around her. I have opened my eyes sometimes to see birds or squirrels watching me. But how many of you feel a special bond with your pets? We swear they're reading our minds, or perhaps they're reading our energy. This month's Riva magazine has an article about therapy rabbits. Some of their visits are to residents with memory issues. The rabbits have encouraged nonverbal or non-connecting people to engage. When my father was in memory care, I sometimes brought my dog to visit and was encouraged to let him visit with the residents. One woman sat in a chair and stared into space. I had watched her decline over time, and she seemed unaware of her surroundings. My dog Ernest, though trained to walk with me, started to gently pull me in her direction. All he did was put his head on her lap, and her eyes started to get some light in them again. And she petted him and she talked to him. And she had not talked in months. The staff were amazed, but said they had seen that in other residents with therapy animals. And Penny, I'm glad you're here because you're actually in my talk today. So Penny and I once talked about how we could picture our dogs doing something, like coming to us, and without saying a word, they will perform what we are thinking. Many animal acts rely on that bond, that matching of essences between humans and animals. So I believe the divine flows through every living thing. How could it not? One tree that died a millennium ago has parts flowing through millions of trees today, and through millions of birds that migrated and spread some of these parts. Through people that migrated and spread more. Through water that flowed miles away, evaporated, and fell on another part of Earth. Every molecule in you has been part of a million other living things. They have connected and reconnected billions of times. Let them connect again.
Of things that I've experienced, particularly I chuckled to myself over the story about the bare feet and the lack of clothes or different clothes. When I was growing up, there was a family that lived a couple doors down, and we never understood why those kids were always well, no colds, no flus, dead of winter, shorts, halter tops, bare feet, even in the snow. We were all bundled up. And we were the ones that were sick, not the children that were running up and down the street with summer clothing on. So it really brought that home to me. And I appreciate it very much.
Kids that are in cities and their parents never let them out are usually the sickly ones. But kids are getting bacteria, and they'll get sick themselves, but they fight it off so fast.
Thank you, Charlene. You were talking about sitting outside and just being still and just being as aware or noticing what you can. In connection with that, and again, back to the Amish and the Mennonites going barefoot, if you do that with bare feet on the earth, the connection is strengthened. Some of you have probably heard of grounding, and that's exactly what's happening. There was another thought, but it's disappeared, so.
Thanks, Charlene. I really enjoyed that. I have a T-shirt which says, "We are Stardust." From Life is Good. It's a great T-shirt.
Thank you, Charlene. Really nice. Well done. I thought of this, I noticed this too late to make it a joy, but I love that today you're dressed in the colors of Ukraine.
And that was actually an accidental thing. There's a man in Heathville that makes a lot of tie-dye that we wear, or ice dye. And I asked him to make this dress for me, because I'm wearing it because it's the first day of meteorological summer. And it reminds me of summer, the sun in the sky, but Ukraine too.
The view of even scientists in the 19th century wasn't that long ago, where they observed basically the same thing we observe today. But it was also beautiful and perfectly coordinated, that they assumed it was all planned. And it just, their mind could not wrap their mind around the idea that this wasn't a plan by a creator. But I think today we, at least most of us, have some doubts about that. But, it's still great. It's still beautiful. And it's even somewhat more amazing that it's not planned, but we get the benefits of it.
For all your work on it. When we were stationed in England, we lived in a semi-detached house, which was very cold. It wasn't very warm all the time. So I had 2 little kids, and no matter what the weather was, we went out every day. Rain, we didn't care, and my kids were so healthy when we were over there. Either one of them, maybe one time, got sick. And I just think it is that, you get out in the nature that you're living in, and people adapt. It took me a while for my blood to actually get used to the English weather. So it was a great thing for my young children to be out all the time. And they would walk in school. They would walk across in their little bathing suits in the bitter cold with a towel and go across to the pool, and they would have to swim in the pool each day and walk back out in the freezing cold and go back and put their clothes on for classroom time. So it was, it was a good way. Thank you.
Yeah, when my 2 boys were younger, when we lived in the country, they loved, every time it was raining, can we go out and run around naked? Which they loved to do. Had to wait till I moved out to an area where no one could see us, because when we were in the city, when we lived near Detroit, one of my sons wanted to go outside, just play outside. He said, "Can I take my clothes off?" I said, "Sure." And a neighbor called CPS on me.
Oh.
And they dismissed it, but they were a little like, "Why would he be outside? Are you sexualizing your child?" I was like, "I'm letting him experience nature." So, yeah, but I'm glad your children went through that.
Thank you, Charlene. That was so much good information. My brain's just going. River Readers just finished reading Playground, which is about marine life, partly. And that's something I think kind of the unexplored. We don't really know what's in. I mean, we're not planet Earth, we're really planet ocean.
Yes. And you know, the ocean, the earth is about 75% water, and we're about 75% water. You know, we're definitely connected. Any other comments? Well, thank you all for letting me share my perspectives today. So hopefully.
Thank you.